Hey, Facebook friends. Wait a minute. This is YouTube. Hey, YouTube friends. How are you? It's Father Chris, and I am working on a sermon for Sunday, and it's about envy. And I wanted to share with you my thoughts about where that's going. And one of the first things it did was, if you're going to preach, you better own it. So if I'm going to talk about envy, I've got to think about who I'm envious about. So I'm going to be a bit judicial because I'm not going to name who the person is. But there is a certain person in my field that I really envy. He's an engaging public speaker. He's a writer, and every time he turns around, it seems that he's got some magnificent project he's working on. I'll read his books, I'll hear him speak, I'll think, boy, what a gifted and creative person. But try as I might, I can't write and I can't speak and I can't come up with the kind of ideas that he has. So what am I left with? Envy. You know, of all the 7 cardinal sins, envy is the only one that doesn't have a consolation. So if I was a glutton, I could at least eat really well. If I was a sloth, at least I could sleep in. But if I'm envious, all I get is envy. However, I do get one thing, and one thing that I think is enough to redeem all those sad thoughts I have around envy. What's inspired the sermon is that Sunday's gospel is about James and John, who are 2 of Jesus's best friends. And James and John become enticed by envy and by selfish ambition. And Jesus uses this opportunity to remind all of his disciples of the importance of humility, of service, and of living lives that value our position in God's eyes versus the world's eyes. So when I feel envious, I'm reminded about how God gives gifts to God's people. Everybody is different because there's a lot of different repair work that needs to be done around here. And when I hear a compelling talk or when I read a really good book, instead of spending too much time envying that talk or that book, I try to double down and think about the unique gifts that God has given me. Now, they may not be gifts that I wish I had, but that's not up to me to decide, thank God. God gives us gifts whether we think they're good or not. But they're gifts that God has decided to give me. And the best thing I can do is to own them, is to thank God for them, and to use them for God's glory. So next time you're feeling envious, don't let it get you down, but use it to lift you up to a deeper realization and awareness that you are God's beloved, that you're doing an important piece of God's work that only you can do, and to be confident in who you are and whose you are, because God is probably using you more than you know. So there's my live stream, and I hope that is inspiring to you as it has been for me.